What's good, CDL fans? Maverick back with another power rankings. These are my power rankings after week 2, which we just saw. Some amazing matches went down over week 2. As we head into week 3, I think there are some shifts in the rankings. They're definitely notable, and that's what we're going to go through today. Let's not waste any time and hop right into it with our 12th team. I have NYSL down at number 12. You can see I added the numbers in the arrows that shows how many spots they moved. I thought that was a nice little thing just to kind of like be able to compare last week, since obviously it's not like right on the screen. But I did drop NYSL down to 12th place from 11th. I think just like after watching these teams, NYSL seems like the worst team. Obviously, Royalty was not set up for success, being as the fact that he's in Canada and they were playing on like Texas servers, and he was on like 80 something ping. And obviously, he's coming into a somewhat dysfunctional team already that already has its problems. So it's tough for him to really come in and make things happen for this roster. I do think they will get better. I don't think they will be a last place team all season long. But right now, I really think from the eye test of watching these matches, NYSL just looks like the worst. Then at number 11, I have the Paris Legion. Obviously, bumped them up from 12 to 11. The only reason I really bumped them up is honestly, Paris just looks they look more competitive in their matches. NYSL has like a 2-9 map count, where Paris is like 4-12, I think, or something like that. So yes, Paris has lost more maps, but they've also won more maps, and their map win percentage is like 4 or 5% higher than NYSL's. Obviously, both teams are 0-3 and 0-4 for Paris. So definitely not good teams either way, both deserving to be at the 11 and 12 spot. But I honestly just think Paris looks more competitive, even though on paper I would still say NYSL is probably the stronger roster. I think Paris just looks better right now throughout this season, and I think they're deserving of number 11. Then coming in at number 10, I have the Florida Mutineers. As they were number 10 last week, I keep them at number 10 here. I don't think they're worse than teams below them, but Florida just doesn't look good. They're super inconsistent. Skies needs to figure out what he's going on with him. I thought Dave Patty looked really good this weekend compared to the previous weekend. I thought Vivid looked solid. Awakening still looks solid, but this team just they just can't win. They're able to get kills, but they're just not putting up map wins. They're just not winning their series like I think they should be. And for that reason, I'm just going to keep them at number 10 this week. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the Minnesota Rocker, who fell 4 spots from 5 to 9 this past week. Rocker, they lost both their matches this weekend, obviously, right? So of course they're gonna fall. They're playing good, decent teams too, but I just feel like they don't look as good as everyone else that's above them. They need to work on their hard points. They're obviously very good at search and destroy. They're pretty good at control, but they definitely need to work on hard point. And overall, this team has the potential, and this is a team that I don't think is going to need a roster change or anything like that, unlike teams below them maybe, but they definitely are not better, in my opinion, than some of the teams above them based on the performances we've seen so far throughout stage 1. Next up at number 8, probably the second most inconsistent team maybe behind the Florida Mutineers, we have the LA Gorillas, who I bumped up from 9 to 8 this week. Obviously, they beat London in their match this past weekend, which is a super good victory for them to get, and it was a pretty concise victory as well. Right, it was very decisive. They went from, they dominated the first 2 maps. They threw the control map on Gavatu, so they should have 3-0'd London, but they didn't. They got the 3-1 still either way. Asim looks great. Gunless was apparently having aim assist problems, and I could tell there was something up with him because he was not looking nearly as good as he was looking, but still, this whole team is playing really well, and if they can find consistency, this team can be one of the best teams in the league. They have 4 players on their team that if they're playing at 75% of their potential, this team is going to outslay almost every team in the league. Maybe obviously maybe besides like FaZe or something like that. But I really think LAG could be a super good team this season. But as of right now, I slot them in at number 8. Coming in at number 7, we have OpTic, still at number 7 based on last week. Yes, they got their first win, which is great to see. But the teams above them, I think so far, are having a better stage and are looking better. It is nice to see OpTic get the win, but like I said, it was only 1 win, and it was against Paris, who I have at number 11. So obviously it's not that amazing of a win. If they were to beat a team like, let's say, Gorillas or maybe LA Thieves, that I would have bumped them up obviously, but being as they beat a team that's probably the worst in the league or second worst in the league, I'm keeping OpTic at 7. Now we move into the top half of our teams. At number 6, I have the Boston Breach. Boston has been a very pleasant surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect from this team coming into this season. I didn't get to watch the Kickoff Classic much, like I've said in previous videos, so I didn't really know much about Boston coming into this regular season, and I've been very much enjoying watching them. Obviously, Capsule has been really, really good. I think TJ has been much better than I expected. Methods has been right about what I've expected, and Nero has been kind of disappointing, personally, for me. Nero's like one of the highest engaging ARs in the league right now, which is kind of crazy because he dies a lot. Like, he dies a lot in his games. Obviously, if you're getting a lot of engagements, you're probably gonna end up dying a lot, but when you look at him compared to other AR players that are getting in these engagements, he's just dying way more than them. So Nero is definitely an interesting player on this team, but I'm not here to talk about Nero. Obviously, we're here to talk about the power rankings. So Boston at number 6, I moved them up from 8 to 6 this week. You know, they're 2-1, I believe, right now. They're like in 5th place on the standings. I think Boston looks good. I think Boston is a team that probably will sit around this 6 to 8 mark all season long, but as of right now, I'm gonna have them in my top 6. So we move into our top 5. We have at 5 the London Royal Ravens, who I bumped up from 6 to 5. I do think this is well deserved. If they beat LA Gorillas, they probably would have found themselves in the top 4 for sure. I think London is a good team. I think London is a team that we're going to see in this top 5 all year long, and I really like the way this team works with Zero as their leader and then the 3 young guns around them. The rookies have looked great. Afro's looked really good in his 2nd season, and I think this team is a force to be reckoned with, and it's definitely the team that we're going to probably see in winners bracket a lot this season, if not every single major. I'm excited to watch this team. I really like seeing these teams that have been, that have been bad in the past. I know London was solid in the Modern Warfare season. I think they finished like 4th at champs, so they were solid that season, but last year obviously they were terrible. So I'm excited to see what they can continue to do with this roster. Coming in at number 4, which didn't change from last week, we have the LA Thieves. I think LA looks really, really good. They're a top 2, top 3 hardpoint team in the game. Overall, this team looks solid in just about every game mode. I think they could probably work on their control for sure. They almost threw that SND against Florida in their series this past weekend. Obviously, they almost got full sailed, but LA Thieves just they definitely look like a top 5, top 4 team. You might be able to make an argument to put Ravens above them. I think there's an argument to be made there, but I kept LA at 4 mainly just because I think they, even though that they have I think they're 2-1 as well, or I think they're 2-1 and Ravens are 3-1. Don't quote me on that. I should probably have the standings up on my second monitor, but unfortunately I don't at this time. I just think LA Thieves looks like a very strong team, and if LA was going up against London, I would personally take the Thieves to win the series. So for that reason, I have them at number 4. Now we move into our top 3. Obviously, we all know who the top 3 are. I'm sure we all kind of have an idea of what order they're going to be in. Starting it off at 3, I have Ultra. Yes, see, this one's kind of weird, right? And let me explain before you get all mad. Yes, Ultra won both their series this week, and I believe they were both 3-0s, right? So Ultra didn't drop a map this week. It doesn't really make a ton of sense that Ultra dropped after going like 6-0 map count this past weekend. But I think it makes sense when you look at the fact that FaZe and Surge are both undefeated, and I think FaZe and Surge are a little bit stronger maybe at this point. You could probably argue that FaZe isn't as strong as Ultra because like Simp hasn't been performing, but honestly the real reason I dropped them is just because they have a loss and the teams above them don't. I think that's a fair reason to drop them. But yeah, I think Ultra looks good. I enjoyed seeing Hixie come in and play. It was really cool to see a substitute player just kind of come in out of nowhere and play. I think that's something that would be cool to see teams do more often, where like, let's say you have a unfavorable matchup. Like, let's say you're a team that has a weak sub duo going up against a team with a strong sub duo, subbing in a player off your bench that maybe is a better aggressive SMG that is favorable in a matchup you're going into. I think it would be a cool idea. So I think it's cool to see Ultra. Obviously it wasn't for that reason. Kenny's just come down with COVID. Hopefully he gets well soon, but I think it's cool to kind of just see a substitute come in, play their role on a good team. And I think it's nice to kind of get a change of pace and see what these new new players are all about, right? We know what to expect from most of these players in the league at this point, but then you get this sub that comes in like Hixie, you know, makes a huge play at the end of that first map 1 hard point to pretty much secure them that win. I think that's awesome, and I'm gonna have Ultra at 3. At 2, we do have FaZe, who bumped up from 1, and I'll bring up Surge as well at number 1. Said FaZe and Surge are both undefeated. I think FaZe looks solid. Obviously, Simp is having a slow start to the season, but Celium's looking like a monster, even though he uses the whole aim through walls exploit thing. And you know, sometimes I don't know how to feel about Celium, because he does these things like snaking and aim assist through walls, which kind of like hinders your view of him. But even without that, he'd still be a monster on the map. So he definitely is the best player on their team at this moment in time. BZ's looking really good. Arcides is looking like Arcides. Simp obviously is not looking like Simp, but this team is still 3-0 without him. So once he gets going like he usually would, or even if he gets going up to 80% of what he usually is, because right now he's probably at like 40% of what he usually is, this team is going to be really good. And Surge number 1, I mean, Surge has had a lot of close victories, right? It hasn't been like Surge has been super dominant in their wins, but I just think they just look good. They're a team that, even though these games have come down close, I still feel like they're favorable in just about every matchup they come out of or they come out against. I believe Surge is playing London this coming weekend, which I think is going to be really interesting to see, and I'll get into my pick'ems in a later video, so watch out for that. But I do like the Seattle Surge roster, and I do think they're deserving of number 1 in the power ranking. Thank you all so much for watching this week's power rankings video. Next week I will do another one after week 3. Heading into the major, I believe, will be next after this coming weekend, which is awesome to see. If you did enjoy, drop a like, subscribe for more CDL content. We're just trying to do our part here to help push the CDL out to more people and make content people are looking for. So let me know down in the comments if there's anything in particular you want to see me make. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.